Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I know I have been away for a hot minute, a few months. I'll get into that later, but first I want to talk about what I am doing today. So today I am doing a 3-colour watercolour challenge with all my watercolours mixed together. So what I just showed you before was my watercolour palette. Sorry, it was a bit quick. I tried talking this as I recorded and recorded the video, and I just rambled. So these are all my watercolors. There's a lot of them and I hardly use most of them. I think only 2 of these colors in this Holbein set have been put into pans to be used, and I just don't reach for the colors that I don't use really regularly. So I thought this would be a great option or idea to be able to try some colors that I don't normally use or reach for. So here I can't actually see the colours I'm choosing, but here are the 3 colours that I chose. So I mixed it up and then held the edge of the box up so I couldn't see. We had carmine, light ultramarine, and buff titanium. The carmine and the light ultramarine are both Holbein, and the buff titanium is Daniel Smith. They're the only 2 brands of watercolour paint that I use. The carmine, despite its name, I don't believe it actually has carmine in it. I looked it up and couldn't find anything that suggested it did. I hope I'm not wrong there. I do live a plant-based lifestyle, and I do try to follow that through with the art supplies that I use. So here I did some teeny tiny swatches on this little bit of paper. I'm sorry, I should have done it on a bigger sketchbook or something. I did have a watercolour sketchbook right near me, and I chose not to use it because I don't like the paper in it and I don't like the way that colours show. And this is the paper that I do paint on. So it's beautiful paper, it's Saunders paper, and I wanted to swatch it on that paper, and this is really the only scrap piece I had of it. These 3 colours I don't use. So as I said, buff titanium is in my palette. The other 2 aren't, and I never reached for either of them. French ultramarine is in my palette, and I haven't done a comparison between the French ultramarine and the light ultramarine to see what the difference is. So we'll see how I like that. I did mix some of these colours together to see how they looked, and I wasn't really quite sure how I wanted to use the buff titanium. It really makes me think of like an urban cityscape, and that's the reason I bought it, because I wanted to paint those, which I haven't done. And it's quite an opaque colour, and I'm not really a fan of using opaque watercolours so much. So this was interesting. Now onto the painting. I had already decided before I'd picked the colours that I was going to do a portrait. And although I hadn't actually drawn the image beforehand, the colours really had no influence over the portrait that I chose to do. I just went onto my Pinterest board and picked the first face that came up from my saved pins and went with that. Now, the composition of this piece isn't the best, I'll be the first to admit that. I probably drew it a bit too big for the size of the paper, and probably could have moved it over a bit to the left, but once I'd started drawing it, I didn't really want to restart. So honestly, I just rolled with it and got some paint paper. Now, I have not done a painting since November last year, so I was very out of practice. And I also haven't filmed a video in a hot minute as well. One of the reasons for that is my tripod broke, and I didn't buy another one. I did buy a ring light that's got a tripod, kind of like a camera attachment to it, for makeup, and I've kind of been saying for months that I could probably use that to film a video, but I never actually tried to see if it would work with my desk, and it does. So I'm using that now, and I found it a little bit awkward to start with. The ring light's quite large, and it just wasn't working well for me the way it was set up, but I adjusted it around about now during the painting process, I think. And I found it to work a little bit better. And I am sorry that the painting isn't front and center or maybe a bit more zoomed in, so that's something that I will work on for future videos. But do please let me know what you think so far of the setup and any improvements you have to suggest. Now, as I said, I have not painted in about 7 or 8 months, and I just went straight into this with absolutely no warm-up. I also haven't really drawn much in that time at all. I don't exactly know why. I think my creativity just... I don't know. It's not that I wasn't feeling creative or anything. I just wasn't motivated, so I was struggling with that. That's not to say that I haven't been creative in that time. For about a month during quarantine, I did hire a pottery wheel, which was a lot of fun, but it got a bit too expensive, so I had to hand that back. Now, since then, I've dabbled with a little bit of creative writing. I've always enjoyed writing, and I actually started my own book quite a while ago, a year or 2 ago, but lost interest in it. I found the characters a bit unrelatable to my age. So I'm dabbling with the idea of maybe starting a new book, writing a book again, and I'm just working on world building and character building with that whilst trying to warm up my creative writing skills and also read. I'm trying to read, which I found I just stopped doing after I finished high school. So I haven't really sat down and read many books in the last few years, and that's really enjoyable to get back into a book. Now let's get back to this painting. I really enjoyed using these colours. I'm just going to call them blue and red rather than go by their actual name, but I relied on them a lot and I used them throughout majority of the painting. I only pulled the buff titanium into it a few times, but I felt that really worked nicely with giving it some sort of skin tone, which of course if I'd gotten a different colour, I may not have been able to do that. I also used it in the hair, which allowed me to just get a bit of a different tone into the hair, and then I did put it into the background a bit. This is definitely something I would love to do again. It was so much fun, and I just had to work with the three colours that I got. Obviously this came out very purple with using that red and blue together, and I had a cool red, so it was quite a blue toned red it seemed, but it gave me such beautiful purples. And for those who have seen my artwork or any of my previous artwork, it's pretty clear that I do love to use purples in skin tone and in the skin. If you want to see some of my artwork, I will post a link to my Instagram down below where you can see my artwork and my other arty stuff that's going on. And of course, there are quite a few videos and time lapses of my paintings on my channel, so feel free to check them out. Now, I'm not sure if it's because more people are at home at the moment with the quarantine that's going on, but I have noticed my views on my videos going up, and I have gotten a few more subscribers trickle in. So if you're a new subscriber since the last 6 months, thank you so much, and I guess welcome to the first new video you would have seen since you subscribed. When I got back into posting on this channel, which is when I started with watercolour, it would have been probably about a year ago, maybe a bit more, that I started posting. I was posting pretty consistently, generally every week. Now I'm not sure that that's going to happen again because I do have a pretty busy time coming up ahead for me. I am in my final year of uni, and that involves a full-time 3-month unpaid placement. On top of that, I will also be working casually on the side, and I'm also doing my, it's not quite a thesis, but it's like my research project for my honours year. So I am going to be a busy bee, but this was so much fun, and now I've got all my watercolour stuff set up again, so hopefully I find myself back at the desk and actually consciously make time for painting. Now, as I said before, I did use the buff titanium to create the colour in the hair. I'm really happy with the colour that I mixed up for the hair. I had no clue what I was going to do. Right until the moment I mixed that colour, I did not have a game plan. I thought it was just going to be another purple shade, and I was going to have to use really dark shadows or something to just differentiate it from the colours in the skin, but this turned out really well. Now, I didn't really know what I wanted to do to finish the painting off. It just didn't feel like enough like this. So I went for something that I've never done before, and I don't know that it felt quite right doing it, but I did decide to splatter some of the paint on it. As you can see now, I'm just using another piece of paper to guard that off. And unfortunately, I didn't film it, but you will see it in the photos that I'm about to post at the end. We're almost at the end of the video. I went in with the buff titanium in the background and just added just a bit of a messy background, and I really liked it, but once I took the tape off, it maybe looks a little awkward, and I kind of wish I'd just left that titanium, you can see it now, the buff titanium on the left side of the painting, and maybe left the back of the painting, you know, the back side of her head area and her neck without it. I'm not sure. Let me know what you think about that, because yeah, I just don't know how I feel about it. But I don't mind the splatters either, so I don't know if that's something that I'll incorporate all the time, but I'm not upset that I did it. So here it is, the final painting. I'm so glad that I made some time to paint, even though it is currently 3:30 in the morning. I better get myself to bed. Hoping to get this video up in the next few days. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more, feel free to subscribe. As I said earlier, my Instagram is linked down below if you want to follow me over there too. Thank you so much, guys, and have a great day.